This is our last packet. We're going to do lesson 24 today. So mine's just telling me these are my notes that are filled in. This is my copy. I wrote my name. Make sure you have your name at the top. Make sure this is your last packet for CFA3 notes for standards RP.1, 2, and 3. This is lessons 24 through 29. Today, this video is just going to be for lesson 24. And this is really big for RP3 on percents. Percents and rates per 100. You need to know that percents are always out of 100, and we've seen a couple of videos on Math Antics that explains exactly that. So in the first example here, it's going to make it nice and easy for us. They're going to say that the farm consists of 100 acres, and there's 3 different types that apples grow here. So when I circle things, the 100 acres, that's our total. And then we're going to split the total up into 3 different types of apples. So I'm going to use different colors to help. My colors that I have to help are black, blue, and green. If you want to shade a certain way, that's fine too. So 25 acres. The farm grows the Empire apples. So that's one part. Then the Macintosh, I'll change to green. Macintosh grows on 30% of the farm, and then the remainder would be the Fuji apples. So I'll change to my last color there. So we've got black, green, and blue. So we need to shade in the grid below to represent the portion of the farm that each type of apple occupies. So if we use different colors to kind of see that. So if the total is 100 acres, we know that 25 acres would be Empire apples. So if the total is 100, and we can see that there's a 100 box here, how many should we shade in that are 25? We're just shading in 25 boxes. And these are in rows of 10 or columns of 10. So if I go down and I'm shading this one going down, this would be 10. And so if I'm kind of shading that and I'm trying to make it look nice, but this would be 10 if I shade the first row or first column, I guess. So then this would be 20. And then once I get 20, I've got to get to 25. So I would need to shade 5 more blocks in. So 10, 20, and I need to pick 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 would represent the 25 acres that the farm has. So with Empire, I use my color key. I used black for Empire. That was 25%. What's the part to whole ratio? Well, it was 25 was the part, and the whole amount was out of 100, 25 to 100. So you could say 25 we shaded in or colored in black out of the 100 total. And then as we continue on Macintosh, we're going to use green. And so 30% of the farm. Well, 30% is 30 out of 100 because a percent is a number out of 100. So I could say this is green. Now we'll need to shade 30%, which that part to whole is 30 out of 100. So that means 30 will be colored in green out of the 100 total. So the total is still 100, just 30 is green. Just to make it easy, I think I'm going to pick these 3 rows over here because this would be 10, 20, and this would be 30. So if I pick these last 3, or I guess columns again, not rows, these 3 would give me 30, 10, 20, 30, and I can shade these in. It's not great, but giving you an idea or a picture to see. All right, so something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then the last color is blue, and that'll be what's remaining. So the remainder would be blue. So what remains? How many boxes are left? Well, we had 25 and 30. The whole thing's out of 100. So that would leave us 45%, that's blue. That would leave us 45 out of 100. That means we need to color in 45 blue out of the 100 total. And if I look, do I have 45 left to color in? I've got 1 whole column, 2, 3, 4, and then this is my last 5 here. So the last little bit would be our 45 blue. This problem was nice because it was already out of 100. Not every example you have is out of 100, and that's where it gets a little confusing with percents. Because some people just think, well, if you miss one, then you're at 99% on a test. Well, that would only be true if you had 100 questions on every test. So you're kind of shading that in, something like that, where you've got it shaded. So exercise 2 is going to be for the next example. The shaded portion of the grid represents the portion of the granola bar that's remaining. So this is the whole granola bar. The shaded portion is what's remaining. So it's like you ate this portion over here. What's shaded is what's left, okay? So what percent does each block of the granola bar represent? What percent? So you can see this is a 10 by 10 grid, so that's 100, right? 100% would be the whole granola bar. So one block equals 0.01, which is what you can see written in each one. That's like the decimal version. And if we remember decimal, that's the same thing as saying 1%, because we read this as 1/100th. 1 out of 100 is 1%. So again, they asked what percent of the granola bar remains, okay? If 100% is the whole thing, that's all of this, and there's like 2 rows gone, to me that's 10, 20's gone. That leaves 80 that's left. So that means 80% is what remains. Let me move this up just a little bit. And then that means 20% would have been eaten. And 80 and 20 would, if you add those together, that gives you your 100%. What other ways can we represent this percent? So what are other ways could you represent 80%? 80% could be represented as a fraction. As a fraction, you could say that that is 80. Let's box in fraction. 80 out of 100. You could simplify that down, and you could say, or that would be like 8 out of 10. You could simplify that down and say that would be 4 out of 5. You could also represent 80% as a decimal. Let's box that in. 80% as a decimal, you could say is 0.80 or 80 hundredths. You could also say 0.8, which would be 8 tenths. And when you hear 80 hundredths, I see this fraction. When I say 8 tenths, I see this fraction. So kind of another way to see the visual. This part here that's gray is our 80% that remains. And this part over here would be like the 20% that was eaten. And you have that. Turn the page.